Coming to you from the trenches of blue-collar America, the place where the wheels of America are kept turning and turning. It's the Blue Collar Success Network, hosted by blue-collar business coach, author, and speaker, Jerry Eisenhower, with CVC Coaching. Take it away, Jerry.
Hey, this is Jerry Eisenhower. Thanks for joining me here today at the Blue Collar Success Network. You know, the last show I talked about standard operating procedures. What's short term for that is SOPs. And I had a couple people send me some emails and some questions. And what is an SOP? And go even further, what's an SOG? An SOG stands for Standard Operating Guidelines. Now, Stephen, you paying close attention to this, okay, because you need to know all this stuff. So what's an SOP? An SOP is a step-by-step guideline to do a specific task in the job, to do a specific task. And then we have the SOGs, Standard Operating Guidelines. And what does the Standard Operating Guidelines do? That tells us why we do it. So one of the things is to have a really phenomenal SOP program within your company. You got to have SOPs and SOGs, and the best way to do this is combine these into one document. Now, the successful business owner, they do this for every task in the business. In other words, when somebody new comes to work there, we don't have to tell them anything. It's all written down. Not only that, a lot of times it has pictures, even videos to explain these type of things. So someone asked the question, well, Jerry, how do I get started in doing this? What you got to do is look at your business. How many tasks are done within your business? And when I say task, I'm talking every detail. How do you come in and start the day? What do you do when you open your office? Which lights are turned on? What are the everyday morning tasks that must be accomplished every single day to open your business? What's the task for loading a truck? What's the task for putting paper in a printer? What's the task for anything? And what this does is, in case you have to hire someone new, let me ask you a question. How long would it take you to tell them everything that you know that they're going to need to know? That could take an enormous amount of time. With an SOP program, you do this one time. So what you got to do at this point is you've got to list what are all the tasks done within your business. How do you make a bank deposit? How do you answer the phone? How do you schedule this? How do you order materials? How do you make your payroll? How do you bill your customers on a regular basis? You know, I bet you if you don't have this, customers may sit out there and wonder, well, you know, this guy never sends me a bill. I guess he really just don't want to get paid. He just does this for the fun of it. So you got to list up what are all these tasks within the business. Now, when you actually sit down and do this, you have a feeling how many tasks you may be talking about? When do you want the trash dumped? When do you want every task done in that business? Because what you're doing is you're taking off the handcuffs that may be holding you down to that business, and why your phone's ringing all the time and why you just have a high level of stress. So step 2, we've listed all the tasks. The next thing we got to do is we got to prioritize them. What's the most important? And I want to tell you what's called the 80-20 rule. If you can take care of 80% of the problems in your business, in your life, the other 20% may not matter. So what we want to do is list, and then we want to prioritize what are the most important ones that we need to start writing our SOPs on. What is the most important thing to do? Okay? So once you got this done, we've prioritized them, and we're going to prioritize them into 4 different categories. They're going to be critical tasks. These are the tasks that have to be done, that if these aren't done, nothing's going to operate. What's under the critical list? Next, it goes under the very important things. These are very important things, but they're not critical. The business isn't going to fail if these aren't done at a certain time, but these are very important. Your next order of prioritization is not as important. There's still tasks that need to be done to keep things orderly, but they're not critical mass. And then your fourth category is they're simply not important. They're not important. You can get by with these, but realistically, if you want a phenomenal business, even the not important tasks, you need to get them standardized. You need to do this. Okay? So you got your prioritized list. What happens next? Somebody's got to write the beginning SOP. Depending on the size of the company, depends on who's going to write this SOP. It might be you. It could be somebody that works for you. You may have someone that works for you that's actually better at a job than you are. I know that's hard to believe, but you may have someone that's better than you that works for you. I mean, Stephen, right now, if something happened to you, I need to know how to operate that soundboard, right? Without that soundboard operating, we don't do this podcast, do we? So somebody's got to know how to operate that right there. Now, if I had an SOP of how to do it, it's real simple. Somebody follow directions, because there's green, there's white, there's red. Looks like about 45 little knobs you got to turn over and all places to plug this stuff into. So as long as you know how to do this, you're good. So that would be an SOP, just an example. You understand where I'm coming from, okay? So if you had to go on vacation and you couldn't be here, we need to do a podcast, we could get by, right?
Yeah.
There you go. So see, so you got to get someone that can write this and know what it's done. Now, this is going to be one of the big fears in this. A lot of times people think, well, I can't write it out to that. And you know, Stephen, I don't think you could write me a finalized SOP of how to operate that I could understand. You want to know why? Because you're going to use terms that I don't understand, okay? Give me some sound terms that you would use in the sound business.
Modulating.
There you go. Okay, so let's take modulating. You want to tell me, well, you have to set the modulating to do this. I got no idea what modulating means, okay? So I know you do, and you're looking at a computer screen over there, and there's probably little things bouncing up and down on there, right? Turn that screen around. We'll see what it looks like. So see, when I look at this, I'm looking at my voice as I'm talking, and I see green, I see yellow jumping up, and I'm presuming those two little marks there, that's the maximum it's going, because I'm watching it move these little marks around. So you know all this, right? I'm just guessing at all this, okay? So again, I wouldn't even know how to do that. I wouldn't know how to connect to that soundboard or anything else. So you understand where I'm coming from. Does this make sense to you?
Yes.
So as a millennial, this makes sense to you.
Yes.
How about that? Do you believe this? We have a millennial that says, I understand why we need SOPs. So what's got to happen is now, somebody like Stephen has got to write this SOP. But now I have to look at this SOP, and I need to ask Stephen all the questions so this SOP can be modified so the normal human being who has never run a soundboard could walk right in here, and Cheryl could operate that soundboard. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you see what you're doing in your business. Because here's the thing, Stephen, you could get knocked out tomorrow, okay? You could get hit by the bus. We may never see you again, okay? But we don't know this, but now we're not going to be held hostage over Stephen, okay? Because that's my soundboard, right? Mm-hmm. So think about that. If you got things in your business that somebody knows what to do that you don't, do you realize the hostage that you're being held, the handcuffs that are on you right now? So from this point, they're going to be edited, okay? Now, the next thing after they're edited is, Stephen, I'm using Stephen as an example, I'm going to hand it back to Stephen. Say, Stephen, if someone follows everything that's here, and I know some of these things are minor, are they going to be able to operate that soundboard, or is there anything else that they need to know? Is there anything I've gotten there as a mistake? Stephen could review this, right? And from that point, he may want to modify a few things. So when that person goes through and does that, what's got to happen next is it's got to come back, and the management has got to review the SOP. Because here's the thing. That's my soundboard, ain't it, Stephen?
Yes.
So the whole thing is it's got to be run the way I want it to, right? So that's all the way to so. So what we're going to, so we go through all these things. So I'm going to hand it out. And I'm going to tell Stephen, Stephen, you got 3 days. If you don't reply in 3 days, then I'm going to assume that you agree with what I've written. Is that harsh?
No.
Do you need deadlines put on you like that? Yes, Stephen, you do.
Yeah,
Most people do.
I do.
So what you got to do is, whenever you do this, you got to put your deadlines on the people, okay? So at this point, they're going to come in. They send back and say, okay, we're good to go, or they make the modifications or they edit it or whatever. The next thing we do is we hand that SOP out to a person who has never done the job before, such as Cheryl, and say, Cheryl, come in here and run the soundboard. Can she do and run the soundboard effectively looking at this SOP? Is this making sense to you?
Yes.
Okay, so that's called the test. Now, once we get done with this, and if we had 3 other producers like you working here, we would then come up, okay, now we're ready to implement the SOP. When we implemented the SOP, we're going to tell all the engineers this is the exact way that you operate the soundboard, okay? And we're going to hold them accountable to that. Because if they don't plug that microphone plug in just right, I got a feeling you could mess this plug up. I got a feeling if you plugged in something wrong, you could actually blow that soundboard up, am I right?
Yeah.
Such as if you said plug it into a wall, okay, and there is a 110 and a 220 outlet there. If I plug that soundboard in the 220 outlet, what's going to happen, Stephen?
It's going to blow up.
It's going to fry. So what we got to do is make sure. We just don't say plug it into a wall outlet. We say what? Plug it into a 110 outlet.
Yes.
Do we need a surge protector on it?
No.
Don't need that, okay? So those are all the things that we're going to answer in this SOP. Now, at this point, what are we going to do next is we're going to hand this out. And everybody now has to agree to operate by the system, okay? Handing it out. You've agreed. Now, here's where you've got to do your part. You're the leader. You have to do the key factor that leaders have to do. What do you think that is, Stephen?
Telling other people how to do it, handing it out, letting them...
No, we've done all that. What's the next step?
Practicing it.
Okay, you practice it. What's the next step for the leader to do?
To test it?
He's already tested it. It's handed out.
Okay.
It's in process right now. So what is the critical factor for the leader, for the manager to do next?
I don't know.
That's why I'm the leader and you're the millennial, right?
Yes.
You have to inspect for what you expect.
Okay.
In other words, just because it's out, you have to be able to inspect for what you expect. That way, if you come in here and somebody hasn't followed the SOP, what are you going to do? So you got to inspect for what you expect. Now, what do we do if someone is disappointed us, Stephen?
We fix it.
No.
No?
We discipline them.
Okay.
We hold them accountable. Accountability. Now, according to my understanding with the millennial population today, which you are one, right?
Yes.
And what the millennial population of America, which probably is going to be the majority of the workforce of people who listen to us, you realize that? You got us outnumbered, Stephen. That's the bad thing. You guys have outnumbered us now. I'm a baby boomer. You have outnumbered our ass. That's the way it is. We made you. Now we got to deal with you, right?
Yes.
Okay, y'all didn't just happen this way. You know, we made this happen, and that's a whole nother story we're not going through today. But I got to inspect for what I inspect, and then I've got to hold my people accountable. So if Stephen is a new sound guy and he doesn't operate this properly, and he thinks he's got a better way to do it, but he hasn't went through the process, he hasn't said, hey, there's a modification SOP, he just does it, I've got to hold him accountable. Okay, you got to hold people accountable, and you got to work with your people. You got to communicate with your people. This is the process by which you write SOPs. Now, recently, I've been preaching SOPs in business since the early 90s. Read a book by name of The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, and it's all about how to build a replicatable business, a scalable business, how you can build a business, pick it up, move it to another location, operate it, how you make the business most valuable for sale. So I bought in the standard operating procedures back in the 1990s and wrote these for every phase within our business, told you how to do everything. Believe it or not, it told you how to put paper towels in the paper towel holder. It told you how much toilet paper went in the bathroom, Stephen, every single detail. Not only how to go, where you go to the bank at, directions to the bank, what time of day to make the deposit. Do you go to the inside or the outside? Do you go to ATM? You take the deposit inside. What do you do with the bank the receipts and everything else? That's called writing your systems and your standards. Okay. So anyway, I've been teaching SOPs for good 25, 30 years, Stephen says, doing this, and I've taught classes all across America. So I've done classes on this. So recently I sat down, it's like, it's time to just get this down in the book. So I recently wrote a book. It's called Standardizing Standard Operating Procedures, and should be out on Amazon when this is done. So, I'm going to encourage you. If you want to know more about SOPs, SOGs, Standard Operating Procedures, Standard Operating Guidelines, go look me up on Amazon. The name of the book is Standardizing Standard Operating Procedures. It's written by Jerry Eisenhower, and it's going to be available, if it should be available by the time this podcast comes out, if not very shortly. And from this, and what we're going to see is, we're going to see if this can give people the help they need to do it. But there's another side of doing this. Like I said, my name is Jerry Eisenhower. My company is CVC Coaching. SOPs are an important part of running a business model this day and time. If you need additional help in doing this, hey, we'll be glad to help you. We'll be glad to talk to you. Be glad to do a phone call with you. A phone call to call us to get to know us. It doesn't cost you a dime. Feel free to call us. My number is 704-425-0217. You can reach me via email at jerry@cvccoaching.com. Follow me on Facebook. We got YouTube channels, CVC Coaching. Look us up. Let us know how we can help you. Like I said, we started CVC Coaching. What we want to do is help people turn their business dreams into their business realities. And we've been doing it for going into 7 years now. We're doing a pretty good job. But hey, if we haven't helped you yet, it's time we started. Give us a call. My name's Jerry Eisenhower. I'm waiting for your call right now. Have a great day. Listen to us next time. Talk to you later.
Thanks for joining us here at the Blue Collar Success Network, sponsored by CVC Coaching and hosted each week by coach, speaker, and author Jerry Eisenhower. For more information on the services provided by Jerry and CVC Coaching, look them up at cvccoaching.com. Our mission here at Blue Collar Success Network is to help blue-collar pros like you turn your business dreams into your business realities. Let's talk.